Now, after black's rook moves somewhere down the H file, white's rook is going to have more choices, and the best square for white's rook is C8, so it's important that black restricts C8, and now all of these squares are restricted by black's pieces, so white's only safe squares are going to be C7, C5, or along the first rank, and if white's rook moves along the first rank, then it's really passive here, so black reaches a side block formation, which is a win, and the knight prevents white's king from escaping to C1, and at the same time it sets up a side block formation here, so there's nothing that white can do to prevent checkmate here. White can go for the stalemate trick, since all of white's king squares are going to be taken away, but before capturing this rook, black can simply check with the knight so that it's not stalemate anymore. So white's losing quickly if the rook moves along the first rank, and if the rook goes to c5, then that's just going to be key position number 1, where the positioning of this rook doesn't really matter. So white's only move is rook to c7. Now the knight can attack it with tempo, but this is different than when the knight attacks the rook from d3, because remember, d3 influences important squares, but from d5, black isn't going to have anything like that. After white makes way for the rook to block here, the knight just doesn't have anything decisive, so rook to h1 wouldn't be a good idea here. Black wants to drive this rook onto the 5th rank to try to force key position number 1, and right now the knight controls b6 and prevents the rook from checking again. So with all of these squares restricted, now is a good time to force white's rook to the 5th rank, and the rook's not going to do any good up here because rook to b1 allows rook to a8 mate, and if rook to b2, that allows knight to b4, and white's not going to have any checks after that. So white's going to have to play rook b5 next. So black just simply wastes a move, and rook g8, f8, or e8 is fine. So white's only move is rook g5, and now key position number 1 is reached after these forcing variations. And if rook to c1, this is the same as if white had played king to a1 in the starting position after black first played rook h8. This just leads to checkmate. But black needs to be careful to play rook to a8, which prepares for this stalemate idea, because this position is not stalemate, but if black were to try rook to e2 instead, then this would be stalemate. So rook to e2 is a draw, but rook to a8 is the correct way to win. So quick review of key position number 2. Black first restricts the best square from white's rook. White moves to the second best square. Black attacks it with tempo, and black's knight is aiming for the d3 square, but that can't be done right now. But black wastes a move here, and since white's rook is obligated to control the b file, and white's king has to avoid the a2 square, white has to move the rook to the 5th rank, and then key position number 1 is reached, where white's best move is king to b1, and now this is key position number 1. So now let's move on to key position number 3, which is 6 moves deeper than key position number 2.